No, I've got one. I was going to shake your hand.
Oh, thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. How was lunch? Cool. Hello, my name is Boon Sheridan. As Jimmy mentioned, this is my 4th year coming back to Wellington. I came years and years ago and fell in love with the city. It is fantastic. It is beautiful. There is something amazing about Wellington. I can't put my finger on it exactly. But every time I come back, somehow I have like 20 gallons of this stuff. This and gunpowder rum, which is also a big favorite of mine. So, some of you may say, Boon Sheridan, why do I know that name? Oh, remember Pokemon Go? So I love the fact that we're talking about the future and tomorrow and today because I'm half of an equation of the future hitting hard in a way you never imagined. I woke up Saturday morning after Pokemon Go launched, and the house I live in, which used to be a church in the 1800s, was now tagged as a gym in Pokemon Go. So over the next 48 hours, my life went from kind of weird to holy crap, the BBC is calling, and my wife says the New York Times is on the phone. And it just turned my life upside down in a way that I never expected. So the future is kind of awesome. It's also kind of sticky. And it also tends to involve people staring at your house with a phone like this. So it takes over fast. The good news is it made me kind of famous. The bad news is, holy crap, 61,000 results about this. And the best part of it is people now in my neighborhood go, hey, that guy, right? If this is my 15 minutes of fame, I'm totally cool with it. So here to talk about the future a little bit and do something slightly different. I have to do my localization. In the US, this is Family Feud. In the UK, this is Family Fortunes. Did Family Feud ever make it to New Zealand? No? Okay. Yeah, a little bit. Right, Richard Dawson, right? I'd spent more time with this guy than my parents when I was a little kid. Right, Richard Dawson was, cup of tea with my grandmother, would watch Streets of San Francisco, then watch Family Feud, and then the news, and was like, as a little kid, I'm like, being an adult is awesome. But I want to talk about a few things because we have very serious things. I'm not going to joke. I'm kind of the fluff in the program. Marshmallow fluff is something very American. I don't think it qualifies as a food. It is marshmallow. It is sucrose, it is egg white, it is sugar, and it is basically diabetes in a bottle. So I can't think of anything more American. As you can tell, it's like, you say, huh, that sounds interesting, I wonder if he likes it. What do you think? So as I said, I am here today for the first and possibly last ever UX New Zealand quiz. Let's cross our fingers, we'll see how this goes, we're gonna play along. And because it's a quiz, because it's going to be somewhat interactive, we asked for some volunteers. Didn't get as many as I'd hoped, but we have one brave soul. And after you see how that goes, now maybe others will come forward. But our first, Fraser Malpas. Fraser, where are you? Come on down. All right, come on. Oh, he's already shaking his head. This is going to be awesome. Because he sat all the way in the back. Okay. Come on up. Yeah, thank you. Right? Thank you. All right, man. Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Come on over here. Come on over here. Because this way, if you look at that, you're going to see answers to the questions. This way, you're going to see the questions. So, tell me a little about yourself.
I'm a student at Massey here in Wellington.
Nice. What are you studying?
Graphic design, visual communication.
Very cool. Visual design. So visual design, UX, we should be best friends, right? These are the people.
We are.
This is going so well. I feel, do you feel it? I feel it.
I feel the love.
All right. So we've got a couple of questions for you, and because you were the first to volunteer, other people didn't need bribes. You didn't volunteer? Well, you're going to get beer anyways. So the next couple people, there's beer involved. Oh, now suddenly things have changed. Okay, so I have a couple of questions for you. When we talk about the future, inherently we talk a little bit about the past. And what was kind of fun about some of the talks so far is it talked about the history of UX, where we've come from. It's always kind of fun to think about where we've come from to figure out where we're going. So with that in mind, first question, when was the term user experience first coined? 1979, 1984, or 1993? And please, don't shout out at answers. And I'm actually okay with wagering. If you want to wager between yourselves, that's totally fine too, but let me wet my beak. Give me a cut at the end. What do you think?
We'll go B.
1984. Okay, this was unfortunately the worst way to start you off because it was in fact a trick question. The term user experience, if you saw Cornelius' talk yesterday, Fabu, by the way, he had 1994, I should mean 94 in his timeline? Cornelius, where are you? 84. It's kind of funny because it shows up in a lot of different places, and I find that fascinating. User experience, this thing that we've got a room full of people, we've got conferences more and more every year. This is a thing that we all do, and we're not exactly sure when it started. And I think that is the coolest thing about it. It's also the most frightening thing, but it's kind of funny to think about the stuff that we do. We actually have some challenges with our own history. We get to make our own history as we're going. A lot of people say Don Norman, Apple, taking some notes. And then some people say, probably came up over a couple of drinks one day in San Francisco. That's my theory, but I think everything good happens over a couple of drinks in San Francisco. All right, so that was a kind of a drag, but I'm going to give you the next one. Question 2. When we think about the future and how we learn, think about books. Remember books? I turned 44, and I went I was an old man when I was 23, but I turned 44, and now suddenly it's like, do you remember books? I'm a terrible person, I'm sorry. Our friends at O'Reilly do amazing books. They do technology, they do design, they do programming, and they're all fairly common because of the fact that they have animals on the cover. We talk about information architecture, and instead of the title of the book, what do we say? Polar Bear book, thank you. And they say Wellington crowds don't respond. So we have things like polar bears, we've got wolves, we've got a rooster. How a rooster for mobile design came, I'll never understand. But with all the books they've done, which of the following animals has not been on the cover of an O'Reilly book? Is it, and ignore the fact that I did these slides last minute, so I'm actually missing words up here, but the animals are important. A capybara, a dachshund, staying small, right? Or a panda. A capybara, a dachshund, or a panda?
A.
Capybara? Tiny, tiny, tiny little thing? Unfortunately, no. It's a panda, right? Here's the thing. They've had a red panda, but they've never actually put a panda. One of the animals that defines when you think, oh, what's a crazy animal to put in a book? It's a panda. I don't know how that hasn't had enough. Okay, all right, we're still doing well, still doing well. Question number 3. This is a good one. What do you think, and this is serious, it sounds funny, but this is serious. You're in university, yep. You're doing visual design. We had some great talk yesterday of what the future might hold. What do you think one of the world's greatest design challenges is going to be in 5 years?
Like over density in cities?
Population?
Yeah, population, too crowded.
That's fantastic. So how do you think design might come at that? I'm giving him a chance to be sensitive, and you are ruining it.
If you pay me, I'll tell you.
You are going to make an amazing designer. Amazing designer.
That's a student.
All right. So fascinating question, density, overpopulation. How do you design, trying to design cities, so it's like, that's just fantastic because you've got urban design. You think about the cities that are growing like crazy. Anyone here been to Shanghai in the last couple of years? Oh my God. It looks like Blade Runner, but also Blade Runner by Disney. But it's very cool. And along with that comes driverless cars, amazing stuff. It's a fantastic, fantastic answer. So that's, if the world's biggest challenge might be overpopulation and density, very seriously, what's your biggest design challenge in the next 5 years? What's going to keep you growing and changing?
Someone help me out.
This is not the part where I thought phone a friend would be called in. So when do you finish university? When do you finish being a student?
End of next year.
Next year. Then for the rest of your life, you got to figure out, now what do I do? All right, so graduating university, that's a year. You got 4 years after that. What's on the Fraser plan?
Yeah, just trying to find a job will be my biggest design challenge.
Can't argue with that. Can't argue with that. So that's the next biggest challenge in 5 years. So as a student, you've got your whole career ahead of you. I am insanely jealous. I am insanely excited. And for that, the very least you can do is have a beer to soothe your soul. Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, man. Thank you. All right. I'm looking for another volunteer. Who wants to come up? Give me. Oh, I've got some pointing. Come on up. Yes, come on up. No, I'm sorry. Oh. I'm going to do you, then you. No, you're number 3. You're number 2. You're going to be number 3. You're coming up in a few seconds. You get your back turned to me. You're going to be number 3. You both had your hands up, so you're coming in. That's number 2. You're number 3. Come on up. Hey, Michael. Michael? Michael.
Yeah.
Michael, everybody, thank you, thank you. Okay. Right? There's a lot of love here. All right, so let's do this again. So,
right.
When we're thinking about design, and we think about the future, and I say, well, this is a UX conference, but I say design a lot, right? Because there's always that interesting point where someone says UX, and then someone says interaction design, and then it's like a Japanese anime, you go, and now we must fight, right? We're gonna be friends, we're gonna be pals here. So we're talking about design, big D design. Designing the future means lots of different things. We have so many methods, we have so many ways we can create. And one of the big things in design is prototyping, right? Mm-hmm. Hands up who's ever gone into a meeting and someone said, I need a prototype, and you went, well, could you be a little more specific? So, prototyping tools and the way we create designs is a new big thing.
All right.
And the funny thing about prototyping tools are we've run out of really good names, right? It's sort of like drugs in America where you've got drugs called Provaxin and Travestival and just put this down your throat of itch. So, prototyping tools, I got 3 up here. What is not the name of a current UX prototyping tool? Flinto, which I think comes from like flint and steel and the Stone Age. Balsamic, not just something you put on your salad. Or Cheerio, something you might just put in a bowl and eat dry when it's really late and you've run out of milk because you really didn't plan your life well.
Okay. I know the first 2 aren't, but this is not a trick question, is it?
It is not a trick question.
Cool.
Because I think you sussed out already. Cheerio is not a prototyping tool. So you knew right away on the other 2. Mm-hmm. You've used the other 2 before?
No, I haven't.
So he hasn't used them, so that tells me something right now. The people who are marketing Flinto and Balsamic are doing a very, very good job. All right.
Okay.
Question 2.
All right. Let's do this.
One of the best parts of our opening talk, inventions, the future, colored poo. The future's going to be so, oh, come on. You saw the poo and you all went, oh, right. I mean, the Fisher-Price stuff was amazing, but when you get into colored poo, suddenly everyone's going, tell me more. Tell me more. What is not a recent, of these 3, what is not a recent invention? People have been very busy doing things that I still don't understand. So, the first, a vegetarian burger that actually bleeds when you cut into it. Vegetarian burger, it doesn't cry, it just bleeds, you know, instead of going, a fully working inflatable nightclub, like a bounce house, but probably with ecstasy and bouncers. Or injectable headphones, which is a piece of circuitry you can put right in the back of your ear, and it's going to take the sound waves from your ear and just let you go. You don't have to worry. And so instead of them falling out like these freaking new Apple iPad thing, Apple iBuds, iLost is what they should be called. Which of these 3 is not a recent invention?
Not a recent invention. It's going to be A or C.
Okay. Okay. Burger or headphones? Tough choices, right?
It's very tough. I'm going to go with C.
Injectable headphones? You are absolutely correct. There is no such thing as injectable headphones. Well done. No, well done, well done. Okay. That being said, much like we heard yesterday, give it probably a couple of weeks, right? If someone says it, there's someone in a lab going, we can do that. Yeah. 3D print, going like a staple. You know, just feel like getting an earring. And we're going to do the same thing again. Question number 3. What do you think the world's greatest design challenge is going to be in 5 years?
I think our greatest design challenge is going to be using technology that creates positive impact on the world, but doesn't destroy our motivations. So, for example, with Pokemon Go, it got us all up and going, but it kind of destroyed the way that we do some of our other habits, like driving, for example.
I think it's fair to say any new invention ruins driving in about 10 minutes. Right? With something, so the idea of behavior change in a positive way. So we get behaviors to maybe help people drive a little bit better, so just something that isn't a distraction. So it's not something where people are saying, okay, honey, I know we have to go get milk, but there's a Gyarados over here, I'll be right back. Right? Okay. So technology that makes our lives a little bit better.
Yeah, so technology that makes our lives better, but doesn't necessarily destroy like a lot of our other patterns and makes us more lazier, I guess.
I think that's a great point. Like, so behavior, like we all have habits. We all do things that we probably shouldn't do, but we do it every day. And when you, as any researcher here will tell you, if you interview someone and you just say, do you put on your seatbelt when you drive? People go, well, of course I do, of course I do. And then if you videotape them later on getting into a car, they get in the car, turn the ignition on, and just take off like a bat out of hell, right? Yep. Seatbelt, sure. Brush my teeth? I brush my teeth every day. No, I don't, actually. So that idea of behavior change, I think that's great. We're seeing lots of apps that can do that. We're seeing lots of technology that can do that. I'm really interested in the idea of just making people be better drivers. Because if that's anything that will change the world, it's getting rid of people that just can't drive for. And I'm from Boston. I know terrible drivers. I heard a yep. Has someone visited Boston and come away scarred for life? And that's something worth aspiring to as a group. What about your biggest challenge? What's something that's going to be a big challenge for you in the next 5 years?
For me personally?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I think for me personally, it's going to be keeping I think design personally is going quite technical, where like front-end dev skills are like kind of coming like into it a lot more, which is a like personal really big philosophy I have. So I think for me personally, it's going to be about combining that visual and technical capability as a design method rather than...
Fraser, you listening? Design and technology, that's it, baby, that's it.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think it's going to be about combining those two skills and like continuing to build better experiences with those two capabilities, because I guess with front-end developments, like how we build new interactions, like responsive web design, like I think, like the more technology we learn, the better it's gonna.
And I think that's a key point there, because it feels like in the last couple of years, there's that sense of, Coke versus Pepsi for should designers code, right? You say say designers should code, and half the room goes, the other half goes, no, we should talk about this. At least in the States, it's a discussion. And I think what's important is it's technical competency. Not every designer has to be a front-end dev, but people who are designing things should understand the platform you're designing for, right? You shouldn't build something that you don't understand how it works. So understanding a little bit of code, some of my favorite people are designers who come from a dev background. They cut their teeth on something where now they say, oh, I can mock this up, and I think I understand it in the background.
I think it's quite good as well, because when you know how to code, you can build designs that are a lot more adaptive and able to change much more better for the future. Yeah.
And adaptive is another key phrase, all that, Gina's great talk about design systems, right? We're getting to the point where you don't have to invent anything on the fly now. We're getting better at building systems so that when it's time to create something, you don't have to go off and figure out, do I have to reinvent how to do a button or do this type of page? Pattern libraries, code snippets, tokens, all these things are going to help.
Yeah,
I think that's fantastic. That is amazing, and that easily earns you a beer.
Awesome.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. I want to talk for 1 second. It is fascinating. It's that sense of when we're at, now I'm going to be cautious because I say we, because we're all friends here, but we're all different, and there's something everyone here has a different set of skills. But when we're talking about design, when I started out in design, the line was dramatically between dev and design, right? I had to schedule time with developers. I had to be allowed to talk to developers. I had to put up bear traps to keep developers out of my office at times. Well, maybe not a bear trap, but I sure as hell put pencils on spikes outside the room. But kind of the cool thing in the last 4 or 5 years, maybe even further, is the lines between development, design, research, and business, they're fading. And that can be frustrating if you're caught in the middle, but it means there's some things that are so much faster now, right? And it forces us to be a little more adaptive. A lot of us might have to learn skills we weren't prepared for, but we're adding new things to our skill sets all the time, and I think that's kind of the best thing about the future is we're learning to use technologies, and they're getting easier to use, right? You don't have to learn code at a command line. There's so many tools that will let you learn learn a language, learn a stack, and the fact that, as an older man, as I think earlier when people were standing up, it's like, yep, the old white guy in the room. I had to learn stuff, writing on the back of a shovel and walking uphill both ways. And now it's super easy. And, like I said, I'm jealous of Fraser because he's going to learn stuff faster than I ever did. And he's going to be a better designer than I ever was because he's going to have tools that's going to make his ideas pop like that. So, common theme here, I'm actually pretty jealous of Fraser. All right, so, third contestant, come on up. Thank you very much. I'm sorry that was a little weird at the beginning.
Being spontaneous before.
All right, and
I bought something for you. It's a legacy piece of hardware that you might enjoy.
Oh, Gibson.
It's called a book, and if you haven't tried one of these, this is one of the best books if you like speculative design,
It's exactly
sci-fi
it.
stuff. William Gibson's Neuromancer. It's an awesome book.
That's
Very
fantastic.
easy to use.
Thank you
That's for
very
mate.
much.
Well used, stained pages, the whole deal.
Oh my God,
It's
this
for you.
This is amazing.
It's
This
been
looks
read
like-
about 7 times.
Wow.
And doesn't
Now-
run out of batteries.
This is perfect for because I've got that long plane ride back, and that'll be perfect. So I don't want to be that American who mispronounces your name. How do you pronounce it?
Benny.
It is Benny.
Yep.
B-E-N-E. So I didn't know if it was Bene or something
It's like
that.
Benedict without the bit at the end.
That works for me. Thank you for coming up. What do you do?
I'm a product manager, so I love designers and UX designers, and I talk about it a lot. I don't do it. But I'm really, really big on every aspect of it. So
Awesome.
we have to be, yeah.
Well, we're all friends here. Product management and design should be really good friends. So, product design. That leads us to a really great conversation about the future. Internet of Things. Put a chip in it. Everything that we do nowadays, you find something, you've got a book. And the great part about a book is you can't hack this. But you buy a cheap camera to put outside your back door to see which of your neighbors has been stealing your laundry off the line. And suddenly that camera can get hijacked. And people are using it for all sorts of things. You've got baby monitors. You've got almost anything. You've got fridges. We've got fridges with chips in them. I don't understand. I mean, there's a part of me that loves it, but unless the fridge can say, he's going to come home a little tipsy, I should make sure that I put the ice cream in front of the frozen peas. Otherwise, it's not really helping me. So we think about product design, and I don't know if you were familiar, anyone here familiar with Michael Krebs and Krebs and Security? He's a security analyst and researcher. His website was taken down in an attack. And what was interesting about the attack on his website is that it was called the largest and strongest attack ever on the web. And security analysts figured out the amount of traffic that was being generated to hammer this man's site was enough to bring down anyone. And it was sort of nation-state level. If you know anything about security, you talk about threat levels, and there's nation-state, where it takes the full power of someone like China or North Korea or probably just Silicon Valley by themselves. But that power was amazing, and no one could figure out how they did it until a little while ago when they realized the attack was coming through the combined efforts of a bunch of Internet of Things devices, harmless little things with chips in them. What device was specifically blamed for the strongest attack on the web? Was it online cameras, as I said before, put it out back, figure out who's been stealing your socks off the line? A baby monitor. Baby monitors that are on this, so they're constantly broadcasting, they're taking video and they're sending sound. Or smart light bulbs, which is an oxymoron in and of itself, and we will not talk about that.
Well, one of these 3 things has had a big impact on my life, which is baby monitors. I'm more like your age than anything else. And that's where your wife is in the bedroom, and when she wants something, she announces it through the baby monitor. I don't know what they're supposed to do, but anyway.
So in other words, it's an intercom system. It's not a baby monitor as much as an intercom system.
It's okay. I need a cup of tea system. I don't know what it is.
All
yeah,
right.
but I reckon baby monitors.
Baby
I'm going to go with
monitors.
that. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
The attack was actually from Online cameras.
Seemed too obvious.
Online cameras. So those little cameras that people are buying, they're putting outside. You know, if you Google for, you know, you can put a camera, Google for a live camera, and you'll see that people put them on their fish tanks. They put them in the parking garages. They put them everywhere. And they found out that the manufacturer in China produced millions of parts that all had default usernames and passwords hard-coded into the firmware. Right? Yeah, even if you're not very techy, you're like, oh no, holy crap, that sounds like the worst thing ever. This is kind of a creepy future. We're getting hardware that can be hijacked, and it's at the DNA of the devices that we use and the devices that we buy. So, truthfully, you know, it's not totally going to be my problem. It's, again, probably, Fraser, you're going to have a lot more time to deal with it than I will. But you're going to be rich, so it's all good. So, thinking about the Internet of Things, and then going back to things that are regular, good, solid. Books, food, beer, and can we take a second to talk about these Optimal Workshop cardigans? Right? Optimal Workshop, fantastic folks. I have a hoodie from them that I almost sleep in because it's so comfortable. This is going to be my new favorite sweater with the, you know, the elbow patches. Not leather, but you know, what are you going to get? Free. But our friends at Optimal Workshop love to use the logo on things. So, cardigan, sweater, here's something. What does Optimal Workshop not put their logo on? A chef's knife, you know, the whole Swedish chef, bork, bork, bork thing. A VR headset, because if you happen to know the CEO of Optimal Workshop, Andrew Mayfield, VR junkie. He got the new PlayStation virtual set last night, had it fired up, oh, like a kid in a candy store. He and his 4-year-old son were playing with it, and I don't know who was more excited. It was kind of cool. Actually, I think Fox was a little less, but again, 4-year-old with a VR headset. The world's awesome. Or a football jersey, because, you know, when you think programmers, you think, you know, it's like, yeah, we'll have the meeting, but we've got a match. Of these, which has Optimal Workshop not put their logo on?
Well, a chef's knife says precision. I reckon they've got that one. A VR headset, super tech, high tech. Yeah, they've nailed that. Football jersey. Kiwis don't say football. It's rugby.
American,
soccer. Soccer. No, it's okay. They do say football, but
I wouldn't say so. If I had said soccer,
I'm gonna go with C.
C.
I'm gonna go with
football
C.
jersey.
I'm
And the
probably
answer
wrong
that they have
again.
not is actually a VR headset. So here's the lesson in this. There are a bunch of people in Wellington with Optimal Workshop chef's knives. I don't know how he did it, officer, but he was very efficient. They have not done a VR headset yet, but those are the, you know, they're pretty crafty, and I give it a couple of weeks, and I think that's going to happen. All right. As a product manager, you've got a different view than a lot of folks. And being you've got a different view. What do you think the world's greatest design challenge is going to be in 5 years?
I had time to think about this, and I didn't. I could have come up with a really great answer.
You sure you're not American?
No. I think
We're
in
self-deprecating.
the
Leave it
digital world, I have this thing I call digital diarrhea, which is the immense amount of digital crap that's produced, this exponentially growing amount of digital crap. And I think the greatest design challenge is people finding good stuff
Right.
digitally. So
The long tail, right? As
like the news, you know, the news gets like harder and harder to find decent news. It's all, you know. So I think dealing with this tsunami of digital media, if you like to call it, I call it digital diarrhea.
It's very poetic when he says
Yeah.
it that way, the tsunami. I think that's fantastic. That's like filtering, right? If you use Twitter, there's a good chance, depending on what client you use, you've used filtering before. You've muted someone, you've blocked someone, you've blocked a keyword, right? We're in a position now where we're generating so much information, but very little of it is useful, right? It's a huge challenge. I think that's fantastic. Filtering, personally, I think is amazing. I use TweetDeck, and I have at least 50 or 60 keywords muted. It changes everything if you're an American right now and you just mute the word election. Right? Just that alone. I don't even say Trump or Obama. I just say election, and suddenly my Twitter timeline changes. And then, what's your biggest design challenge in the next 5 years?
So me personally, my eyesight's not quite what it was. I've got my reading glasses now. I get really sick of GUIs. The whole mouse keyboard thing. It's been, I don't know, was it 30 years of it now? I don't know. Way too long. iPhone's still getting too small for me. I love my iPad. But I reckon for me, it's how do I use audio control in the working environment? How do we interface with all the things we interface with using our voice? We can't walk around talking to ourselves all day. We look like weirdos, and we can't do it in an open plan office. So how does that fit into the environment so we can control all of our stuff without gadgets?
That's a great question. I think it has changed. It was, in the past when you saw someone walking around talking to themselves, you knew what it was. That was the town crazy person. You just knew, leave Jake alone. Jake, don't ask him about the Navy. Leave him alone. And then Bluetooth headsets. Now suddenly people walking around talking to themselves wore suits, and they were sociopaths working for Wall Street. But then so what you'll often hear is NUI, right? Natural user interface. There's no actual interface in voice, whether it's Alexa, whether it's Siri, and all of the stuff that Google is coming up with. Amazing challenges in the next couple of years. And I think it's also kind of like chatbots, right? And we talk about chatbots, and I think there's a really interesting aspect of talking about chatbots, which is bots are really crappy at chat. But we call them chatbots, but we're getting to that point now where interfaces are going to go away. What does it mean when you're home? And what does it mean when there are multiple people in the home? Because I have a couple of friends a friend of mine texted me and he said, my world has changed. My daughter has learned how to ask Alexa to play music. And I have listened to What Does the Fox Say 13 times in a row. And someone at Amazon didn't think that through. Like, hey, maybe if the user wants to listen to the same song 13 times in a row, then we will let the user listen to the same song 13 times in a row. Shoot that business analyst. No. Tell them to change it a little bit. That is fantastic. Thank you so much, Benny. It was a pleasure. He's like, no, beer first. And there's your beer.
This is not any beer. This is Garage Project, right?
Yes, it's Garage Project. I should have said. Sorry. But yes. Otherwise, it's Stella poured out. Okay, no problem. Thank you, everyone, for coming up. That was amazing. And thank you so much for everyone who laughed with me, because you were laughing with me, not at me. Have a wonderful rest of the time. Please say hi. I'll be in Wellington for a couple more days, and I'm looking forward, as I'm sure you are, to the rest of the talks today. Have a great day.